Hello, my dear students. This is Mrs. Shayma Gharib, and today's lesson about angles on straight line. First, let's revise some rules before you watch any video. You have to sit in a quiet place. You should have your pen and a piece of paper to take notes and to solve questions. You should pause the video after each question, then you try to answer on your own. Then you play the video to check your answer and to understand the question in case you get a wrong answer. Are you ready? Let's start. Let's start by revising types of angles. We have acute angle, right angle, obtuse angle, and straight angle, and reflex angle. Let's start by talking about the acute angle. The size of the acute angle is greater than 0 degrees and smaller than 90 degrees. It looks like this. It could be in any position. So this is the angle, the acute angle. What about the right angle? The right angle is exactly 90 degrees. As you can see, sometimes we put like a small square here to identify the right angle. The obtuse angle, its size is greater than 90 degrees and smaller than 180 degrees. So the obtuse angle must be greater than 90 degrees and smaller than 180 degrees. As you can see, this is an example to the obtuse angle. What about the straight angle? From its name, it looks like a straight line and its size is 180 degrees exactly, as you can see here. So this is a straight angle. What about the reflex angle? If you open your angle more than the straight angle, you will get a reflex angle. The reflex angle greater than 180 degrees and smaller than 360 degrees. So what about this? Where is the reflex angle here? Here it is. So this is the reflex angle. What about the opposite angle to it? Can you see it? It's an acute angle. All right. Now let's start our lesson about angles on a straight line. Angles on a straight line total 180 degrees. Let's see how. This is a straight line. If I divide this straight line into two angles, as you can see, both of them are right angles, and each one of the right angles equals 90 degrees. So both of them together equals 180 degrees. So any number of angles on a straight line must add up to 180 degrees. Let's see an example. Look at this diagram here. This is a straight line and it has two angles on it. One of them is called the C. As you can see, it's an obtuse angle, and the other one is 65 degrees. Can we calculate the size of angle C here? Yes, we said before, both of them 180 degrees. So in order to calculate the size of angle C, I'm going to say C equal 180 degrees minus the 65. So I will subtract the 65 degrees from the 180 degrees. 180 degrees minus 65 degrees equals, yes, 115 degrees. So the size of angle C is 115 degrees. Now look at the second diagram. I have two angles on the straight line. So these two angles must add up to 180 degrees. One of them is 130 degrees. So angle B equals 180 minus 130 equals 50 degrees. So the size of angle B is 50 degrees. Is it clear now? Let's see different example. Now look at the straight line. On this straight line, there are how many angles can you see? there are three angles. One of them is 40 degrees. The other one is called D. And what about this angle here? So on this straight line, there are three angles, not only two. And as we said, the sum of angles on a straight line must be 180 degrees. So the three together must be 180 degrees. So in order to calculate the size of angle D, I will subtract both angles from 180 degrees. So I will say angle D equals 180 minus 90 degrees, because this angle is a right angle, and we know that the size of the right angle is always 90 degrees. Then I will subtract the 40, which means 50 degrees at the end. So the size of angle D is 50 degrees. I can also find it in a different way. If this angle is 90 degrees, this means that these two together must be 90. So I can say angle D equals 90 minus 40, which is 50 degrees as well. Is this clear? Now look at this diagram. How many angles do I see here? I have 4 angles. So these 4 angles are all the same size. Why? Because all of them have the same letter, which is S, which means all of them equal in size. Is this clear? So we said all the angles on a straight line must add up to 180. And this 180 is divided into 4 equal angles. So in order to get the size of each angle, I will divide the 180 by 4. Then angle S equals 180 divided by 4, which is 45 degrees. So each one of these angles equals 45 degrees. Now let's see one more example. In this example, the straight line split it into 6 equal angles. All of them are called V, which means all of them are the same size. So in this case, what should I do? What do you think? I will divide the 180 by 6, which is the number of the angles on the straight line. So 180 divided by 6 equals 30 degrees. Is this clear? Now, let's see different type of questions. Find the pairs of angles lie on a straight line and total 180 degrees. I have here a diagram. It has 2 lines, a blue one and red one, and they form together these angles, A and B and C and D. We need just to identify the angles that add up to 180 degrees or angles on a straight line. First, let's look at the blue line. Look at the blue line and look at the angles on this blue line. You will find angle A and angle C are on this straight line, which means that the first pair I have, angle A and the angle C, equals 180 degrees together, the sum of them. Now, I want all of you to look at the blue line, but this time I'm going to look under the blue line. How many angles do you see under or below the blue line? I have also 2 angles below, B and D, which means these 2 angles add up to 180 degrees. So the second pair of angles will be B and D. Now we're done with the blue line. I want you now to look at the red line. Look at the red line and let's identify together the angles on the red line. What do you see? 2 angles, which are A and D. So A and D are angles on a straight line and they add up to 180 degrees. Now let's look below the red line. We have two other angles, C and B, which means B and C are angles on a straight line and they add up to 180 degrees. Now, do you understand how to identify angles on a straight line? Let's have some questions. Find the pairs of angles that lie on a straight line and total 180 degrees. Look at this diagram. I have a red line, a green line, and blue line. Let's identify angles on the straight line. First, let's look at the red line. How many angles do you see on? Two angles, which are M and K. So the sum of M and K equals 180 degrees. Now let's look below the red line. How many angles can you see below the red line? I have three angles on the red line below the red line. So I have angles H, X, and S. The three together equals 180 degrees. After we did the red line, I will go to the green line. Now I want all of you to look at the green line and let's identify angles that total 180 degrees. This is the green line. Now look at these two angles on the green line. Two angles are on, which are M and H. So M and H total 180 degrees. Now let's look below the green line. I have three angles below, K, S, and X. So we can say these three angles add up to 180 degrees, which are X, angle X plus angle S plus angle K equals 180 degrees. Now look at this diagram. We want to calculate the unknown angles here. I have two lines, red and green, and I have only one given angle. First, how to calculate the size of angle A? Let's look at the red line. How many angles are on the red line? Two angles. So angle A equals 180 minus the 43 equals 137 degrees. Then, let's look at the green line. Let me erase this first. So now we calculated angle A as 137. Now we can look at the green line and find out the size of the angle B. Look at the green line. Look at the angles below the green line. There are two angles below the green line, the 43 and the B, which means angle B equals 180 minus 43, which is 135 as well. Now, what do you notice about angle A and angle B? They are equal, and we call them vertically opposite angles. They always equal. Now, let's calculate angle C. We can calculate angle C from the red line because we have two angles below the red line, C and B. So C and B together must add up to 180. I know that angle B equals 137, then angle C will be 180 minus 137 equals 43 degrees. Is this clear? What do you notice now about angle C and the 43? They are opposite to each other. They are equal. and angle A and angle B are opposite to each other and they are equal. Now let's see one more example. Look at this diagram and let's identify the angles, the size of each angle here. We are going to calculate each one. Let's start by the red line, angle K. Look at the red line. We have two angles, 125 and K. So in order to calculate the K, 180 minus 125, which is 55 degrees. Okay, so now we know that angle K equals 55 degrees. Let me erase this line. Now I'm going to look at the green line, the long one here. It has two angles above here, the 125 and the H. So in order to calculate angle H, I will calculate it from the green line here, and I will subtract the 125 from the 180, which is 55 degrees. So now I know that angle H equals 55 degrees. So let me erase this line to make the diagram clear. Now I will look at angle S. Look at the red line. Look at the angles below the red line. I have three angles below. Angle S, angle H, which is 55 degrees, and this angle in between, which is very clear, it's a right angle, which means 90 degrees. So in order to calculate the size of angle S, I will say angle S equal 180 minus 90 minus the 55, or as we said before, if this is 90 degrees, which means these two must be 90 as well. So I can just say 90 minus 55, which is 35 degrees. Is this clear? Thank you for watching. This is the end of our lesson today, and see you soon.